Ever wondered what made Australian muscle cars roar in the 1970s? While America had its Mustangs and Camaros, Down Under was cooking up a storm with engines that could make the earth shake beneath your feet. In this countdown, we're firing up the 5 most legendary Australian muscle car engines that defined an era, from homegrown Holden beasts to Ford's tire-shredding powerplants. These weren't just engines. They were loud, angry declarations of speed from a country doing muscle cars its own way. Number 5, the People's Champion, Holden 253 and 308 V8s. While America was busy building massive big block engines, Australia was quietly developing its own performance identity. In the late 1960s, Holden engineers embarked on what many considered an impossible task, designing a uniquely Australian V8 that could stand tall against imported competition. The result was the legendary 253 and 308 cubic-inch V8s that would become the mechanical soul of Australian muscle. Developing these engines wasn't simply about copying American designs. Holden created something distinctly Australian with remarkable engineering ingenuity. Their thin wall casting technology was revolutionary for the time, allowing these engines to be significantly lighter than their American counterparts while maintaining exceptional durability under harsh outback conditions. This weight advantage gave Holden-powered vehicles better balance and handling characteristics that suited Australian roads perfectly. The 253 cubic-inch 4.2-liter variant became the people's choice, affordable yet powerful enough to satisfy the average enthusiast's desire for performance. Meanwhile, the larger 308 cubic-inch 5-liter was reserved for Holden's most prestigious models, transforming ordinary family cars into legitimate street predators. In the iconic Monaro GTS, this power plant created a uniquely Australian muscle car experience that combined raw acceleration with surprising refinement. By 1970, the 308 had evolved into a serious performance contender, pushing out approximately 240 horsepower in high-output configuration. This might seem modest by today's standards, but it represented exceptional specific output for the era. The real proving ground came at Mount Panorama, Bathurst, where these engines demonstrated remarkable reliability while maintaining competitive pace against larger displacement rivals. What truly separated these engines from imported options wasn't just their technical specifications, it was their accessibility. The Holden V8 democratized performance, bringing genuine muscle car thrills to working-class Australians who previously could only dream of such experiences. They weren't just mechanical components. They represented automotive equality in a country where performance had often been reserved for the privileged few. By the mid-70s, as emission regulations tightened, these engines remained relatively affordable to maintain. A complete engine rebuild in 1975 would cost around $750 to $900. Expensive but manageable for dedicated owners. What's truly fascinating is how these engines have appreciated over decades. A numbers-matching, documented original 308 engine today can fetch upwards of $12,000 to $15,000 at specialist auctions, sometimes more than many Australians paid for the entire car when new. Number 4, the Blue Oval Bruisers, Ford 302 and 351 Windsor V8s. Across the automotive battlefield, Ford Australia was busy crafting something entirely different from their Red Lion rivals. These weren't just engines. They were statements of mechanical intimidation designed to transform ordinary family sedans into highway predators. The Windsor V8s arrived from America but quickly developed a distinctly Australian accent when installed in the XW Falcon series. The smaller 302 cubic-inch 4.9-liter Windsor served as the gateway drug to Ford V8 performance, accessible enough for the average buyer, yet potent enough to satisfy their speed cravings. But it was the larger 351 cubic-inch 5.8-liter variant that truly transformed the Falcon GT into Australia's answer to the Mustang, creating an automotive legend in the process. Official documentation for the XW Falcon GT claimed the 351 Windsor produced 290 horsepower, but this figure was widely considered conservative. Most enthusiasts and journalists suspected the actual output approached 320 horsepower, a deliberate underrating that helped with everything from insurance classifications to racing homologation. This hidden power became part of the mystique surrounding these machines. The Windsor's character wasn't defined by numbers alone. Its distinctive exhaust note, a deep rumbling bass punctuated by a sharp bark under acceleration, became the unmistakable soundtrack of Australian muscle car culture. Even today, that sound triggers instant recognition among enthusiasts, like a mechanical fingerprint that identifies authentic Ford performance. These engines weren't merely transplanted American technology, they evolved into naturalized Australian citizens with their own unique characteristics and following. The Windsor-powered Falcons established Ford's performance credentials and laid the groundwork for what would become Australia's most iconic muscle car, the legendary GTHO Phase 3. The most valuable Windsor engines come with documented racing pedigree. A 351 Windsor with verified history from Alan Moffat's racing team changed hands privately in 2021 for a reported $120,000, more than many brand new luxury cars. Even non-numbers matching Windsor crate engines command premium prices, with restored 302 Windsor mills regularly fetching $20,000 to $25,000 from enthusiasts desperate to maintain authenticity in their restoration projects. Number 3, the new contender, Ford 351 Cleveland. Just as the Australian muscle car scene was settling into a comfortable rhythm, a mechanical disruptor arrived that would shake the foundations of high-performance engineering. The 351 Cleveland didn't just share its displacement figure with the Windsor, it represented an entirely different philosophy of power production. When Ford Australia introduced this engine in 1970, it wasn't merely an update but a complete rethinking of what a production V8 could be. The Cleveland's architecture told the story of its intentions. Its canted valve design, with intake valves positioned at a different angle than exhaust valves, created combustion chambers that promoted significantly improved airflow. The large ports were almost absurdly oversized for street use, a clear indication this engine was designed with racing in mind first, with street applications as an afterthought. This wasn't an engine that made concessions to everyday driving. It demanded that drivers adapt to its high-strung character. When Ford installed this power plant in the legendary XY Falcon GTHO Phase 3, the results were revolutionary. Though officially rated at a conservative 300 horsepower, a polite fiction that helped with everything from insurance rates to racing homologation, the Cleveland in race trim was capable of producing significantly more. This combination created what was for a time the fastest four-door production sedan on the planet, capable of reaching 225 kilometers per hour when most family cars struggled to hit 160 kilometers per hour. The Cleveland announced its presence not just through performance, but through sound. Its mechanical symphony was distinct from the Windsor's deeper rumble, more metallic, aggressive, and high-pitched, especially as it approached its power peak above 5,500 RPM. This wasn't merely an engine, it was a statement of engineering intent that transformed the character of any vehicle it powered. The Cleveland's value isn't limited to Australia. American collectors have been buying up Australian Cleveland engines because of their unique specifications and rarity. A 1971 Cleveland from an Australian XYGT sold at Barrett-Jackson for $58,000 USD in 2022. An unprecedented price for what Americans consider a foreign variant of their domestic engine. Number 2, the underdog innovator, Chrysler Hemi 245. For all the reverence given to V8 engines, the most revolutionary Australian muscle car power plant might have been hiding 2 cylinders short of expectations. When Chrysler Australia unleashed their Hemi 245 in 1970, they weren't just building another engine. They were challenging the fundamental muscle car orthodoxy that equated performance exclusively with V8 power. The Hemi's secret weapon was in its name: hemispherical combustion chambers that created a more efficient burn pattern than conventional designs. This wasn't just marketing, it was advanced engineering that allowed the 6-cylinder to punch well above its weight class. Each combustion chamber featured centrally positioned spark plugs with valves arranged in a hemisphere, creating ideal flame propagation that extracted maximum energy from each fuel drop. In its ultimate E49 form, this engineering marvel produced an astonishing 302 horsepower from just 4 liters, a specific output that would have impressed Ferrari engineers. The triple Weber carburetors that fed the high-performance versions weren't just functional. They created a visual statement when you popped the hood. instantly distinguishing the Hemi from its pushrod V8 rivals. What truly separated the Hemi from the pack was its character on the road. Where the V8s were all about torque and low-end grunt, the Chrysler 6 revealed its personality as the tachometer needle swept past 4,000 RPM. The sound transformed from a purposeful growl to a spine-tingling wail that felt more Italian supercar than Australian muscle. This six-cylinder Maverick came tantalizingly close to winning Bathurst in 1972, leading for significant portions before ultimately placing third. Its performance validated Chrysler's engineering approach, proving that cylinder count wasn't the only path to automotive greatness. The investment potential continues to climb. Documentation proves crucial. A Hemi with verified VIN, matching to a rare racing homologation E49 commands. Price is 3 times higher than standard versions. Even entry-level, complete 245 Hemi engines with proper casting numbers now routinely fetch $25,000 to $35,000 from collectors seeking to restore Australia's most innovative muscle car. Number 1. The Outlaws, dealer takeouts and engine swaps. While Chrysler's 6-cylinder Maverick proved automotive greatness could emerge through official channels, a parallel universe of performance existed in the shadows of Australian dealerships. Here, factory specifications were merely suggestions, warranties became optional, and horsepower claims entered the realm of whispered legend. These dealer takeouts operated in a fascinating gray area of automotive history. Before customer delivery, specially prepared cars would make an unscheduled detour to performance-focused workshops where standard engines vanished, replaced by hand-built creations that factory engineers might admire but could never officially sanction. Norm Beachy Performance became notorious for transforming ordinary Holdens into street-legal race cars. HDT, Holden Dealer Team, operated similar programs, creating what they called homologation specials, a polite term for cars that shared little with their showroom counterparts beyond visual appearance. Meanwhile, Phase Autos developed a reputation for extracting improbable performance from Ford's already potent power plants. These shadow industry engines received modifications that would make factory quality control managers break into cold sweats. Oversized valves, heavily ported cylinder heads, custom-ground camshafts with aggressive profiles, compression ratios that demanded premium fuel, and carburation setups that sometimes doubled the factory air-fuel delivery capacity. The performance gains were dramatic, often boosting horsepower by 30 to 40% beyond factory specifications. A dealer-modified Falcon that left with a nominally 300 horsepower Cleveland might actually be wielding closer to 420 horsepower, creating acceleration that bordered on frightening. The truly adventurous went even further with cross-manufacturer transplants. The sight of a Holden Tirana housing a Cleveland V8 or a Falcon powered by a Chrysler Hemi wasn't just automotive heresy, it created unique performance characteristics that confused rivals at stoplight drag races across Australia. This unofficial engine ecosystem had a profound effect on the muscle car landscape, pushing manufacturers to improve their factory offerings to compete with the shadow industry they simultaneously condemned and quietly admired. The most valuable Outlaw engines combine documentation and racing history. A 1972 Charger 6-pack with original dealer invoice showing the $1,785 competition preparation sold privately in 2022 for an astounding $215,000, more than many factory-spec Hemi engines. The handwritten build sheet from legendary tuner John Shepard provided irreplaceable authentication of its dealership origins. And so ends our tour through Australia's Mechanical Hall of Fame, a collection of engines that weren't merely assembled, but crafted with passion that transcended their metal components. These power plants weren't just about raw numbers. They captured the essence of 1970s Australia itself, resourceful, ambitious, and unafraid to challenge global standards. From Holden's working-class hero to Ford's thundering Clevelands and Chrysler's innovative 6, these engines wrote themselves into the national identity through oil, metal, and sound. They represent a uniquely Australian philosophy. Take what works, make it better, and give it character you can't find anywhere else.